Captain Maya Rodriguez was having what she'd generously call one of those days. You know the type. The kind where your morning coffee tastes like motor oil, your navigation system decides to take a vacation, and oh yeah, you accidentally make first contact with an alien empire while wearing your lucky underwear with the hole in the left side. Well, would you look at that, Maya muttered, staring at the massive ship that had just materialized in front of her tiny exploration vessel. The thing was roughly the size of Manhattan, if Manhattan had been designed by someone with serious commitment issues and a deep fear of curved lines. And here I thought today was going to be boring. Her communications officer, Jimmy Chen, nearly choked on his energy drink. Captain, that thing just appeared out of nowhere. Should we, run? Run? Jimmy, my boy, this is the moment humanity has been waiting for. First contact with an alien civilization. Maya straightened her uniform, which unfortunately did nothing to hide the fact that it had yesterday's lunch on it. Open a channel. Let's make history. The view screen crackled to life, revealing what could only be described as a 7-foot-tall praying mantis wearing military decorations. Its compound eyes focused on Maya with the intensity of someone trying to solve a particularly difficult math problem. I am Commander Vex Tar of the Zephyrian Empire, the creature announced in a voice that sounded like it had been processed through a computer that had never heard of emotion. State your designation and purpose in our territory. Maya flashed her best diplomatic smile. Well, hey there, Commander. I'm Captain Maya Rodriguez, representing Earth. And let me tell you, I'm absolutely dying to meet you. The alien's head tilted in a way that suggested Maya had just said something either very interesting or very stupid. Given her track record, she was betting on stupid. You wish to experience death during our encounter? X-Tar's mandibles clicked ominously. This is concerning. Oh no, Maya laughed, waving her hand. It's just an expression. I'm thrilled to meet you. Really excited. You know, break a leg and all that. If aliens could go pale, Vex-Tar would have been transparent. Several other Zephyrians appeared on screen, all chittering in what Maya assumed was their version of panicked whispering. You wish for my limbs to be fractured? Vex-Tar's voice climbed an octave. As a greeting ritual? Maya felt the conversation slipping away from her like a greased pig at a county fair. No, that's also just an expression. We say it for good luck. Like knock 'em dead, you know. The chittering intensified. One of the background aliens actually fell over. You advocate for the termination of unspecified individuals, Vex-Tar stated, apparently taking notes. And you consider this fortunate? Jimmy leaned over to whisper, Captain, I think we might be in trouble. Maya shot him a look that could have melted steel. Just a second, Jimmy. I got this. She turned back to the screen with renewed confidence. Look, Commander, I think we're getting off on the wrong foot here. You wish to sever our locomotive appendages? And that's when Maya realized that humanity's first contact with alien life was going about as well as a chocolate teapot. The Zephyrians, it seemed, had all the humor of a tax audit and the linguistic flexibility of a brick wall. Every casual human expression was being interpreted as either a death threat or a declaration of war. Perhaps Vex-Tar announced after consulting with his chittering colleagues, a full assessment of your species' threat level is required. You will accompany us for evaluation. Maya felt her stomach drop into her boots. Evaluation? That sounds ominous. Do not be concerned, Vex-Tar replied with what might have been an attempt at reassurance. If you prove to be as dangerous as your communications suggest, we will ensure your death is swift. And with that cheerful thought, Maya watched as her ship was tractored aboard the Zephyrian vessel, wondering if there was a protocol for accidentally starting an interstellar incident before lunch. 20 minutes later, Maya found herself in what could charitably be called a medical bay. If medical bays were typically designed by someone who'd never actually seen a human being and had only read about them in a badly translated manual. Remove your outer coverings, Vex-Tar commanded, gesturing to a scanning table that looked suspiciously like it had been borrowed from a morgue. We require full biological assessment. Maya crossed her arms. Listen, bug boy, I appreciate the hospitality, but where I come from, we usually buy a girl dinner first. 3 Zephyrians immediately began frantically scribbling notes. Subject demands nutritional offering before combat engagement, one muttered to another. Possible ritualistic behavior. No, that's not, never mind. Maya sighed and stripped down to her undershirt. Just get this over with. The scanning beam hit her like a searchlight operated by someone with attention deficit disorder. It swept over every inch of her body, pausing occasionally to focus on specific areas with what Maya could only describe as scientific horror. Fascinating, Vextar breathed, staring at his scanner readouts. The damage patterns are unlike anything in our database. Damage patterns? Maya glanced down at herself. Sure, she wasn't exactly a cover model, but she wouldn't call herself damaged. What are you talking about? Your epidermis shows evidence of at least 47 separate combat encounters, another Zephyrian announced, its voice trembling with what might have been awe or terror. Many of these injuries should have been fatal. Maya looked at the areas they were highlighting on their screen. Oh, those? That's just normal human stuff. This one here, she pointed to a faded scar on her elbow. I got that falling off my bike when I was 8. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop, if pins made noise in whatever atmosphere these things breathed. You engaged in vehicular combat as a juvenile? Vextar's mandibles were practically chattering. Your species trains warriors from childhood? No, it was just a bike. You know, 2 wheels, pedals, completely normal kid stuff. Maya was starting to feel like she was explaining quantum physics to a goldfish. Every human has scars like these. Every human survives multiple potentially fatal encounters during their development phase, another alien whispered. This confirms our worst fears. Maya pointed to another scar. This one's from when I tried to cook pasta and grabbed the pot wrong. Basic kitchen accident. Kitchen. Combat. Training. Vextar was definitely taking notes now. You practice warfare while preparing sustenance. And this little one, Maya continued, getting into the spirit of things, happened when I was trying to pet Mrs. Henderson's raccoon. The aliens exchanged looks that clearly translated to, "Oh, sweet merciful void, they domesticate wild beasts for entertainment." It wasn't really domesticated, Maya added helpfully. Turned out it had rabies. Had to get like 14 shots. One of the Zephyrians actually fainted. Just toppled right over like a felled tree. Your species voluntarily exposes itself to biological warfare agents for recreational purposes, Vextar stated, and Maya could swear she heard his voice crack. Well, when you put it like that, it sounds kind of stupid, Maya admitted. But honestly, it seemed like a good idea at the time. The raccoon looked friendly. The remaining conscious aliens were now huddled in the corner, having what appeared to be a very animated discussion about humanity's apparent indestructibility. Maya caught fragments like impossible healing factor and clearly engineered for warfare, and we should have stayed home. Look guys, Maya tried one more time. I know this looks bad, but humans aren't actually that tough. We're kind of fragile, honestly. I mean, I once threw out my back sneezing. Spinal displacement during respiratory combat techniques, Vextar translated, and Maya realized she might as well have been explaining calculus to a houseplant. We have seen enough, Vextar announced, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd just realized their entire worldview was wrong. The Galactic Council must be informed immediately. Humanity represents a threat level previously thought impossible. Maya watched as they prepared to leave, wondering how exactly she'd managed to accidentally convince an entire alien species that humans were the galaxy's ultimate killing machines, simply by existing in her own skin. This is going to look great on my performance review, she muttered. News traveled fast in the galaxy, especially when that news involved a species apparently so dangerous they made recreational activities out of things that would kill most civilized beings. Within 6 hours of Maya's inspection, emergency broadcasts were pinging across 17 star systems with the galactic equivalent of "Holy crap, we're all going to die." The Galactic Council chamber looked like someone had designed it specifically to make everyone feel insignificant and slightly nauseous. Representatives from 12 species sat in a massive circular arrangement, each trying to out-panic the others with varying degrees of success. Order. Order. Squeaked Chancellor Pipton, a 3-foot-tall creature that looked like a cross between a penguin and a nervous breakdown. We are here to address the human threat. The word human caused an immediate uproar. The Galactic delegation started their signature nervous twitching, which looked like someone had plugged them into an electrical socket. Their representative, a bundle of wires and anxiety named Spark Zap, was vibrating so intensely that his translator kept cutting out. Terrible. Terrible. He buzzed. Hide in bunkers, we must. Seal the tunnels. Board up the windows. Cancel all subscriptions. Friends. Romans. Countrymen. Boomed the Melodian representative, rising dramatically to his feet. We stand upon the precipice of doom. The humans come, terrible and mighty, leaving destruction in their wake like... He paused, searching for the perfect metaphor. Like really destructive things. Ambassador Vel Crow of the formalists raised one of his 17 hands. I object to this entire proceeding on the grounds that we have not yet filed the proper forms. Form 27B for Species Threat Assessment, Form 84C for Potential Extinction Events, and Form 12D for Emergency Session Snack Distribution. There's no time for forms. Pipton shrieked. The humans are out there somewhere, probably sharpening their children on spinning death machines. Vextar stepped forward, his report clutched in what Maya had learned were called manipulator appendages. Fellow council members, what I am about to share will challenge everything we thought we knew about biological limits. The chamber fell silent except for Spark Zap's continued vibrating and the Melodian representative quietly humming what sounded like a funeral dirge. The human specimen we examined showed evidence of surviving encounters that would obliterate most of our species, Vextar continued. Thermal damage from food preparation combat training, blunt force trauma from vehicular warfare exercises performed during juvenile development, biological contamination deliberately sought out for entertainment purposes. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The representative from Fluff World, a species that looked like someone had crossed a teddy bear with a cloud, actually started crying. But surely, squeaked the delegate from the Crystal Empire, they must have some weakness. Some way to defeat them? The subject threw out her back sneezing, Vextar reported solemnly, and immediately developed techniques to compensate for spinal displacement during respiratory warfare. They weaponized sneezing? The Melodian ambassador clutched his chest dramatically. Oh, what fresh hell is this? Furthermore, Vextar continued, their young engage in activities called dodgeball and capture the flag, which appear to be military training exercises disguised as recreational activities. The Galactic delegation began twitching so violently that 2 of them short-circuited. Maintenance robots scurried out to perform emergency repairs. We have 2 options, announced Pipton, trying to restore some semblance of order. Immediate surrender or preemptive strike while they are still contained to one system. Surrender, voted the Fluff Worlders. Preemptive strike, voted the Crystal Empire. Dramatic gesture of defiance, shouted the Melodians. Form 95X for Galactic Warfare Declaration, insisted the formalists. The debate continued for another hour, with each species contributing their own particular brand of panic. The rock people suggested hiding under bigger rocks. The gas clouds proposed dispersing across several solar systems until the humans got bored. The machine collective calculated that the optimal response was to update their antivirus software and hope for the best. Finally, Pipton called for order. It is decided. We shall bring this human before the full council for interrogation. Perhaps we can learn their weaknesses, or at minimum, negotiate terms for our eventual surrender. But what if she kills us all just by existing? Whispered the Fluff World representative. Then we'll file the appropriate posthumous paperwork, replied Ambassador Vel Crow solemnly. And with that comforting thought, the galaxy's finest minds prepared to face what they were convinced was the universe's ultimate predator, completely unaware that Maya was probably trying to figure out how to work the alien equivalent of a coffee machine. 2 days later, Maya stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber, feeling like she was about to audition for the world's worst reality TV show. 12 different species stared at her with expressions ranging from terror to morbid fascination, while she tried to figure out how exactly her life had gone so spectacularly off the rails. "Human," Chancellor Pipton began, his voice wavering like a leaf in a hurricane, "we have brought you here to understand your species' intentions toward the galaxy." Maya looked around the chamber, taking in the nervous twitching, dramatic posturing, and general atmosphere of barely contained panic. "Listen, I think there might be some kind of misunderstanding here. We're really not that scary." "Not scary?" The Melodian representative leaped to his feet, cape swirling dramatically. "You train your offspring in the arts of war disguised as play." "Oh, you mean like games?" Maya smiled, thinking this might be her chance to clear things up. "Yeah, human kids love games. Take dodgeball, for instance. It's great exercise. Really helps with hand-eye coordination." The chamber erupted in chittering, squeaking, and various other sounds of distress. Spark Zap was vibrating so hard his translator gave up and started playing elevator music. "She speaks of training their young to dodge projectile weapons," Vextar announced, consulting his notes with the dedication of someone documenting the apocalypse. "This confirms our suspicions about their combat preparation protocols." "No, it's just rubber balls," Maya protested. "Completely harmless." "Well, mostly harmless. There was that one incident with Tommy Peterson and the bloody nose, but—" "Bloody noses," shrieked the Fluff World representative. "They shed blood during recreational activities." Maya was beginning to understand how miscommunication started wars. "Okay, bad example. How about capture the flag?" "That's totally peaceful." "Territorial acquisition through stealth tactics," Vextar translated gravely. "We continue." "And then there's my personal favorite," Maya continued, figuring she might as well embrace the chaos, skydiving. "Nothing beats jumping out of a perfectly good airplane at 30,000 feet. The silence that followed was so complete that Maya could hear her own heartbeat. Several aliens appeared to have stopped breathing entirely, which was concerning since she wasn't sure all of them did that voluntarily. "You voluntarily exit atmospheric vehicles at terminal velocity for enjoyment?" Pipton's voice had gone up about 3 octaves. "Well, you have a parachute," Maya clarified helpfully. "Usually." "Why?" The word usually caused another round of panic. The rock people started making sounds like grinding cement mixers, which Maya assumed was their version of screaming. "Your species has conquered gravity itself," whispered the Crystal Empire representative. "You mock the natural laws of physics for entertainment." "Also," Maya continued, really warming to her theme now, "we keep pets. Dogs, cats, horses, that sort of thing. My neighbor has this great big German shepherd named Rex, who's just a sweetheart once you get to know him." "Domesticated apex predators," Vextar noted, scribbling furiously, "named with titles of authority. Clearly a show of dominance over the natural order." "Rex means king, doesn't it?" another alien whispered. "They name their enslaved killing machines after royalty." Maya was starting to feel like Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole. If Alice had been armed with terrible life choices and a complete inability to read a room. "Look, I can see how this might sound intimidating, but humans are actually pretty friendly. We make friends with everything. I mean, we even try to make friends with things that obviously don't want to be friends." "Psychological warfare through forced companionship," Vextar translated. "Brilliant in its cruelty." "My grandmother makes these amazing chocolate chip cookies," Maya continued desperately. "She always said the secret ingredient was love." Several aliens started making what she assumed were prayers to their respective deities. "Biological warfare agents disguised as nutritional offerings," the formalist representative observed, "prepared by elder warriors who have perfected the art of chemical manipulation through emotional attachment." "And speaking of grandmothers," Maya added, "mine lived to be 97. She survived the Great Depression, World War II, raising 6 kids and 40 years of marriage to my grandfather. That woman was tougher than a $2 steak." "Extended combat longevity through survival of multiple global conflicts," Vextar noted. multi-generational warrior bloodlines maintaining combat readiness through domestic warfare training. Maya realized she was making things exponentially worse with every word out of her mouth. Each attempted explanation only convinced the Council that humanity was some sort of universe-conquering species of unstoppable death machines who considered acts of casual violence to be bonding experiences. "Perhaps," she said carefully, "we should discuss terms of peaceful coexistence." The entire Council immediately began drafting surrender documents. While Maya was inadvertently convincing the galaxy that humanity was composed entirely of immortal warrior poets, with a side hobby of physics-defying recreational activities, and things back on Earth were proceeding with typical human obliviousness to impending interstellar catastrophe. The communications array in Houston had been receiving increasingly frantic messages from various alien species, but the night shift operator, Dave Martinez, was more focused on his crossword puzzle than potential first contact scenarios. 7 letters, causes widespread panic, Dave muttered, pencil hovering over 12 across. Humans? No, that's only 6 letters. Meanwhile, Maya's crew had been sending regular check-in messages that were being intercepted and analyzed by 12 different species, each more convinced than the last that Earth was preparing for galactic conquest. Jimmy Chen's casual update about his weekend plans caused 3 civilizations to go into emergency lockdown. "Hey, Captain, but just wanted to let you know I'm planning to kill some time this weekend. Might murder a pizza and catch a movie. Hope you're having a blast out there." The Glitchite delegation interpreted this as a clearly coded military transmission about temporal warfare, food-based biological weapons, and explosive entertainment devices. Spark Zap vibrated so hard he temporarily achieved a higher dimensional state and had to be talked back down by a team of metaphysicists. Dr. Elena Vasquez's message about her research was even worse. "Maya, the lab results are in, and they're killer. We absolutely destroyed the control group. The effects were mind-blowing. Can't wait to share the results when you get back." The Melodians immediately composed an epic ballad about humanity's apparent mastery of mental warfare and laboratory-based mass destruction. Their 17-verse composition, titled Ode to the Cerebral Annihilators, became an instant hit across 4 star systems, though mostly as a cautionary tale. But the message that really sent the galaxy into full panic mode came from Maya's elderly neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who had somehow figured out how to use the emergency communication system. "Dear Maya, I hope you're staying safe out there among the stars. My granddaughter Jenny just had her baby shower, and it was absolutely to die for. The decorations were killer, and my famous brownies were such a hit that people said they were deadly good. Speaking of deadly, my roses are coming in beautifully this year. I used that new fertilizer you recommended, and it's murder on the weeds but fantastic for the flowers. Well, on Enigalea, I better get going. These dishes won't kill themselves. Love and kisses, Mrs. P." The message caused immediate evacuations across 3 solar systems. The phrase baby shower was interpreted as some sort of infanticide ritual. The killer decoration suggested humans had weaponized interior design, and the mention of deadly brownies convinced everyone that Earth's elderly population had been conscripted into biological warfare production. But it was the casual mention of murder being used for gardening that really sent everyone over the edge. The rock people assumed humans had learned to kill planets through agricultural warfare. The gas clouds dispersed so quickly they accidentally formed 2 new nebulae. Back in the council chamber, emergency sessions were being called every few hours as new intelligence arrived from Earth. "They're planning a baby shower," Pipton announced grimly. "We can only assume this involves their reproductive warriors demonstrating combat techniques on their offspring. And their agricultural specialists are committing murder on the weeds," added Vextar. "Clearly they've militarized their food production." The formalists had given up trying to file the proper paperwork for each new atrocity, and had simply created a general form titled "Everything is Terrible," as an apprehensive guide to human warfare tactics. "We need to make a decision," Pipton declared. "Do we surrender now, while we might still be able to negotiate terms that allow some of us to survive as entertainment for their children's projectile-dodging exercises? Or," suggested the Crystal Empire representative, "do we strike first, while their main force is still concentrated on their home world? The debate raged for hours, with each species contributing their own particular expertise to humanity's imminent conquest of the galaxy. The Fluff-Worlders suggested hiding in their comfort bunkers until the humans got bored and moved on to terrorize another galaxy. The Machine Collective proposed uploading their consciousness into space probes and launching themselves toward the Andromeda Galaxy. Meanwhile, Maya sat in what she'd been told was a comfort suite but looked suspiciously like a very polite prison cell, completely unaware that her species had just been voted most likely to accidentally end all life in the universe by a unanimous decision of the Galactic Council. She was mostly just trying to figure out how to work what appeared to be an alien coffee machine, because if she was going to accidentally start an interstellar war, she at least wanted to be properly caffeinated for it. 3 days into what historians would later call the Great Misunderstanding, Maya found herself back in the council chamber, facing what appeared to be the largest gathering of nervous aliens in recorded galactic history. The chamber had been reinforced with additional security measures, which mostly seemed to consist of more exits and several aliens positioned near what looked like panic buttons. Human Maya Rodriguez, Chancellor Pip Tun began, his voice carrying the weight of someone about to deliver very bad news. The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding your species. Maya looked around the chamber, taking in the sea of terrified faces, twitching appendages, and what appeared to be several surrender flags. Let me guess. You've decided we're dangerous, haven't you? Dangerous? The Melodian representative laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a tornado. You are the stuff of nightmares. Your species turns child-rearing into warfare, recreational activities into death-defying spectacles, and casual conversation into psychological torture. Okay, Maya said carefully, I can see how you might get that impression. But what if I told you that you've got it completely backwards? The chamber fell silent except for Spark Zap's perpetual vibrating, which had become sort of a background soundtrack to the whole affair. Backwards? Vextar consulted his notes suspiciously. You claim your species is not composed of indestructible warriors trained from birth in the arts of combat? Oh, we're definitely not indestructible, Maya laughed. Trust me on that one. Last week I pulled a muscle reaching for the remote control. The week before that, I got a paper cut that required a band-aid and approximately 20 minutes of dramatic sighing. Several aliens exchanged confused looks. This was not computing with their carefully constructed image of humanity as galactic conquerors. But your scars, protested the Crystal Empire representative. The evidence of countless battles survived. Those aren't battle scars, Maya explained patiently. They're stupidity scars. That bike crash I mentioned? I was trying to ride with no hands while eating a sandwich and looking at a cool bird. The kitchen burn? I grabbed a hot pan because I forgot I'd just taken it out of the oven. The raccoon incident? I thought it looked friendly. You injured yourself through poor decision-making? Pip Tun's voice was barely a whisper. Constantly, Maya confirmed cheerfully. It's kind of our thing. See, here's what you don't understand about humans. We're not dangerous because we're tough. We're dangerous because we're too stupid to quit. The aliens looked confused, which was an improvement over terrified. Take my friend Tony back on Earth, Maya continued. Tony decided he was going to build a treehouse. He had no construction experience, no proper tools, and no real plan. It took him 3 years, 4 trips to the emergency room, and approximately 17 different structural violations. But you know what? He built that treehouse. And it's still standing. Your species persists despite logical obstacles through sheer stubbornness? The formalist representative was taking notes with what might have been academic interest. Exactly. We don't know when to give up. When faced with impossible problems, we don't surrender. We don't even consider it a reasonable option. We just keep trying increasingly ridiculous solutions until something works. Maya warmed to her theme, pacing around the chamber like she was giving a TED talk. You want to know what human warfare really looks like? We once had a guy who decided to fight an entire army with a sword. Not because he was particularly skilled with a sword, mind you, but because he thought it would be more polite than using a gun. Polite warfare? Several aliens were now taking notes. And when we can't solve problems through conventional means, we get creative. We've held things together with duct tape, hope, and pure spite. We've fixed spacecraft with paper clips and determination. We once saved an entire mission to the moon using a plastic bag and some rubber tubing. The chamber was silent except for the sound of furious note-taking. You see, Maya continued, you've been thinking about this all wrong. You looked at our scars and saw evidence of surviving impossible battles. But those scars aren't proof that we're tough. They're proof that we're too stubborn to learn from our mistakes. So when faced with galactic conquest, Vextar said slowly, your species would probably try to make friends with everyone while simultaneously breaking everything through sheer incompetence. Maya finished. We'd organize welcome parties, accidentally insult your cultural traditions, try to fix your technology with household items, and somehow end up adopting half your species as pets. Pets? Squeaked the Fluff World representative. Oh yeah, we'd definitely try to domesticate some of you. Humans will attempt to befriend literally anything. We've domesticated wolves, horses, cats that barely tolerate us, and birds that exist purely to judge our life choices. Given the opportunity, someone would absolutely try to teach Spark Zap here to fetch. Spark Zap's vibrating intensified, though whether from fear or excitement was unclear. So you're saying, Chancellor Pipton ventured carefully, that humanity's greatest weapon is refusing to accept that anything is impossible, combined with an alarming tendency to try solving problems with whatever random stuff we have lying around, Maya confirmed. We're not conquerors. We're the universe's most persistent problem solvers who happen to be too friendly for our own good. The council members looked around at each other, slowly beginning to realize that they'd spent the last week preparing for war against a species whose primary threat was aggressive friendship and creative problem-solving. Vote, announced Pipton wearily. All in favor of welcoming humanity into the galactic community as our official people we call when we need something impossibly stupid accomplished? The vote was unanimous, though mostly because everyone was too exhausted to argue. And that's how humanity accidentally joined the galactic community, not as conquerors, but as the species you contact when your impossible problem needs an impossibly stupid solution, preferably involving duct tape, determination, and a complete disregard for the laws of physics and common sense. Maya was just happy she finally figured out how to work the coffee machine.